All right, chat. Just kidding. Welcome back to the funding table. We're so excited to have you guys back. Today, we do have a special guest, somebody special here in the building. Chances are, if you're in the Laredo market looking to buy a house, you've seen his face. He's been in the industry for 7 years, really known for being a tough, strong negotiator, knowing luxury real estate, pretty much everything here in Laredo. He's a first-time homebuyer advocate. He's not only helping negotiate deals, but also building relationships with the community and helping families build wealth in real estate. Help us welcome Brodie Frederiksen.
Woo! Welcome, bro. Welcome, man.
What's up, guys? I'm happy to be here. Like Rosie said, I'm Brodie Frederiksen. I am a local real estate agent here in Laredo. I've been doing it for 7 years, and like I was telling them earlier, it's my longest standing, career right now, so must be for me. So
Yeah. We love that. We love to hear it.
Let's
We
keep
love
it
to
going.
hear it. All right, Brodie, so tell us. Everybody wants to know, how is the real estate market right now? What is it really like right now?
Give us your best summary of it. Like, is it difficult? Is it easy? What are you seeing out there?
I would say the market is very, very good for buyers right now. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, an investor, I would say the market is pretty good for you right now.
Awesome. What do you see right now? What's one mistake that's costing buyers thousands right now?
I would say a lot of the mistake, especially first-time home buyers, are making is talking to a builder directly and not really understanding, I guess, your power, especially in the market right now, it being, a big buyer's market, right? A lot of buyers are walking into, new construction homes or new construction communities. They're seeing the inventory list, seeing the asking price for the houses, and not really knowing, they have, an opportunity to negotiate those prices. They have, the opportunity to ask for closing cost concessions, ask for, title, ask for, all the different things that, you as a buyer, especially in a buyer's market, are able to ask for. Mm-hmm. Really, they just take it at face value and they run with it. Like, okay, this is the price. This is, how much closing costs or incentives that they're giving us.
So correct me if this is wrong, but what you're saying is one of the biggest mistakes that are costing home buyers thousands is maybe not having the right representation, not being knowledgeable to know what benefits are out there to help them save. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, primarily. And then also, again, like you guys preach all the time, it matters who you work with, right? Even on pre-owned houses, if you're shopping pre-owned houses and your agent, says, hey, this is the asking price for the house, this is what they want, maybe I can get you a little bit of closing costs, especially in this market. I think people are scared. A lot of the times I hear when, especially with buyers or even realtors, I'll be like, oh, well, that offer is offensive. I don't really like that term, especially in the market that we're in right now, because you have a lot of inventory, you have a lot of overpriced homes. Mm-hmm. And so what you think is an overpriced or offensive offer, might be a fair market value offer, right? And you're just, taking advantage of the market that you're in, right? The same way like before pre-COVID when, houses were on the market for 24 hours and they would have 10, 12 offers. That's the seller taking advantage of their market and accepting, all these offers over asking price, no concessions, etc. It's the same thing as a buyer, taking advantage of all the inventory and getting the best deal possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think is one of the main things that separates a buyer who wins in today's market versus a buyer who loses?
That's a tough one for me because it really depends, I guess, on the buyer in particular. I have some buyers that are just happy to get in the house, they're not really too concerned. As long as they're able to get qualified, they're grateful that they're able to get the keys, and they aren't too concerned with the financing and what deal they got. Now, as far as if you're taking it from I guess a negotiation standpoint, I would say the two biggest things are how much closing cost concessions are you able to get? In particular, different lending programs, you're able to get, X amount of seller concessions. And then also the asking price, right? How much are you able to negotiate, or how much is your agent willing to negotiate off that home price, regardless if it's pre-owned or new construction, and kind of leveraging the market that way. I would say those are the two biggest pillars. I would say closing cost ranks probably number one. That's going to help you not only, especially in this market, if you can get, maximum amount of closing costs in this market and help you, buy down the rate, reduce your cash to close, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. I think that's the biggest win you can get right now in this market. Because I think at the end of the day, yes, the house price is important, but especially for a first-time home buyer, I think, how much closing cost assistance you're getting from the seller, I think is the most vital piece.
I understand you. So negotiations, like a buyer knowing the power of their offer and having the representation that will help them with firm negotiations, you would say is the biggest difference between a winner and a loser in today's market?
Exactly.
Wow,
exactly.
that's good information.
Yeah. I would say just knowledge of it, right? Just knowing how to navigate the market, or having somebody represent you that and can guide you, that knows, what market we're in, knows that there's high inventory right now, knows that there's really strong negotiation options as far as in this market right now. Again, depending on the home, right? I mean, there are some homes that, are marketed well, they're, presented well, maybe they are listed at a really good price, that, maybe you have multiple offers, etc. But a lot of the houses right now, there's a lot of inventory. So the biggest thing is knowledge of that. Don't be scared to submit a offensive offer, if that makes sense.
That's
huge. I talk about knowledge all the time, so that's I agree with you 100%. That's some good information.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what's one thing that a buyer can ask for in this market when it comes to negotiating that most people don't know about?
I would say
that's a good question.
Yeah,
right?
That's a really good question.
I mean, the biggest, I guess, surprise factor as far as whether it's pre-owned or new construction, when you're presenting an offer, is majority of the things are negotiable, right? Like when I'm walking around a pre-owned house and, a buyer's like, does that stay? Does that stay? Technically anything in the house, that is in the house that you want to stay is negotiable, right? You can, add a couch, that's just considered a personal property, right? You can add,
I've seen that. I've seen where houses are fully furnished.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything's technically negotiable, but I would say, I guess from a more strategic standpoint, when it comes to like typing up an offer, I would say, like, when you're buying new construction, sometimes like new construction will come without a fence, right? So adding, privacy, right? A lot of people don't know you can negotiate, having the builder provide a fence for you. Landscaping, you can negotiate appliances, right? Appliances are a huge move in cost that, again, a lot of first-time home buyers don't really add into the equation when purchasing a house. They see their down payment, they're like, okay, I need this much to close, but then when it comes time to, okay, where are you going to cook your food? Like they're like, oh, a lot of the times it ends up, getting thrown on a credit card or something like that. So I think it's nice. I guess that's coming from a new construction standpoint, but it applies to pre-owned houses as well, right? Just because on a pre-owned house that the appliances aren't notated as far as that they're staying on the property, doesn't mean you can't submit an offer with leaving those there, right? I mean, the worst thing they're going to say is no, right?
Yeah.
That reminds me of a situation when me and Rosie were purchasing a house. We were real specific, and it was a pre-existing house. We were real specific on we wanted the fridge to say, because we saw the fridge and we really liked the fridge. It looked really cool. It was brand new. It was modern looking, and we really wanted that fridge. And we were moving from out of the city, so like we didn't have a fridge with us or anything. And I think that was a huge thing that we negotiated for. So that's actually good information.
And
Brodie.
the stove as well.
And the
we
stove,
negotiated the stove because
for the longest time we had a couple of fridges at the house, and I think we still do. So
no, when I bought my first house, I bought my first house, I had the fridge, I had the stove. I think those are huge, bonuses to add to your offer. Even if you want to buy a brand new one later, at least you can get settled into the house, and then if you save some more money and purchase the appliances, and sell the old ones, right? Because they're yours technically after closing. So I would say appliances are a big one, and a lot of times as far as negotiations, people just think, oh, well, how much could I get off the price, right? That's like a big, that's the winner lose as far as how much can I get off the price. But they don't consider, like, I'll take 10 extra thousand in closing offer rather than 10,000 off the price any day of the week. As far as whether I'm a first-time home buyer or a second or investor, but that's just my opinion as far as
from the lending perspective. Like since we're on the lending side, from the lending perspective, I agree. Like, I would have to say that I agree with you. Minimizing the upfront cost coming in for a home buyer, like that can make a world of a difference. Sometimes, reducing $10K off the price might reduce their monthly payment by $30, $40, $50.
Yeah.
But, that $10K in concessions might reduce the upfront cost by $10,000, or you can get a fridge, that's a couple $1,000s. So
Heck yeah.
I would have to agree with you there. From the lending perspective, that makes a ton of sense.
Now, how important is it for you to have a strong lender when it comes to a competitive offer?
So I mean, that's the very, very important, especially in my case. I don't want to say like my ego gets involved sometimes when I'm submitting offers, but I like to win. Like when I'm representing a buyer and we're submitting offers, like I want to win the deal, whatever way possible. I think a big case to have, not only a lender that knows what they're doing, but also a very reputable lender. If you have multiple offers, I've been in scenarios, right? I've submitted offers on behalf of clients, and I'm not gonna name any names.
Throw them under the bus, bro. Name the names,
but
bro.
I've been in deals before where they second guess, your pre-approval, like, and a lot of the listing agents that, because it could be here. I guess here's a scenario for you. If you're a listing agent and you're selling a house and you get 3 offers, all fairly close, and you get one pre-approval from a lender that you've had issues with the past before, right? Whether, maybe you were representing that client as a buyer and that lender promised them something and the deal fell through, or, they misguided them in any way. If I'm the listing agent, I'm immediately going to look at the other 2 offers and try to make a deal, happen between, one of the other 2 offers. One, because that's my seller that I'm representing. As far as I want this deal to close, I don't want to misrepresent the seller in any way.
Right.
I want to be sure that this file, because at the end of the day, the lender's the money, right? They're the ones that are going to make the deal close. Having a lender you trust, knowing like, hey, their pre-approvals are solid, they're good to go. I don't have to worry about this deal falling through. Again, as long as the buyer, does what they're meant to do.
Right.
But I think I get a lot of peace of mind working with, preferred lenders of mine, just because if I get a contract in and I find a buyer of the house and they really, really like the house, I know ultimately if they do what's need to be done, that file is going to close, right?
So a reputable lender, like from a realtor's perspective, a reputable lender, when you see that pre-approval letter, you're pretty sure that that's going to be a closing because of the reputation and the kind of work that they do. And what about from a client's perspective? Let's say, like, from a client's perspective, why is it so important to be working with a great lender?
I would say one is the financial aspect of it, right? Again, you're going to be the one making, the mortgage payment. So those numbers that, it's going to be the biggest investment of your life, right? Especially if you're a first-time home buyer. You want to make sure, as far as the interest rate, as far as the closing costs, that you're getting the best deal possible, because in reality, it's a 30-year mortgage, right? For most people, right? So it's not like going to buy a car and, you're taking out a 3, 4, 5-year loan, and, you don't really look into the, financials as much, as far as who's the lender, what's the bank, etc. So I would say one is the financial end of it. And then 2, from an offer standpoint, right? If you're a buyer and you get pre-approved and you have a reputable lender with a good track history, it's going to make your offer that much stronger. If you have not only a good realtor representing you to back you, you have a good lender, a tried and true lender backing you, your offer is going to look that much more presentable, and you'll feel a lot more comfortable, submitting those negotiations. It's going to make, I guess, the journey to home ownership a lot smoother.
Now, I know that maybe sometimes if you have a pre-approval from a lender and they're not the most reputable company, you're a little bit cautious. Is it the same thing when it comes to realtors too? Like, if a realtor submits the offer and you've already had a bad experience with this realtor, is there also that same amount of precaution when it comes to a realtor too?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question.
That's a great question.
Yes, for sure. To be honest, yeah.
Shots fired. Shots fired, ladies and gentlemen. No, we're just teasing.
I think it does matter, I guess, in a stance as far as you're being represented by. Especially from a seller standpoint. If I'm representing the seller, I'm representing their best interest, right? So if you're being represented by somebody that I haven't worked well in the past, or has done some, shady stuff in the past as far as my personal experience, because again, this is about perspective. That might hinder your chances as far as getting that particular house, especially if there's other offers on the property. So again, big preference. It does matter who you work with.
You're right.
We say it all the time, and like it's so wide reaching, like not only on the lending perspective, but from the realtor side, and even the way realtors commune with each other and deal with negotiations back and forth. Like it's so important who you work with, like who represents you. Could be the difference between an awesome deal or a not so great deal, an awesome experience or not so awesome experience, a winning offer or a losing offer. That's so crazy, man. It's refreshing to hear that from you, Brodie, because it's something that I harp on as well too. And me and Rosie talk about all the time, and not only in work but in life in general. It's so important who you work with, who you do business with, who you commune with, and some people don't even know the reputation of the people that they're working with until it's too late.
Exactly.
100%.
And the cool thing is you will 100% have the power to choose who you work with, right? Just the same way you get the choice to choose who you surround yourself with, hang out with. You as a buyer or a seller, you 100% get to choose who represents you, who is doing your finances. So a lot of people don't stop and think about that. Like, hey, do I really want this person representing me? Do I really want this, person, handling my finances, doing my loan, etc. And a lot of times they'll feel trapped. I get a lot of like buyers that get a sense that they're trapped. Whether it be, and again, whether it be like a family member or a close friend that maybe has been doing business for a year or does it part-time, they feel obligated to like, hey, I gotta work with this guy because I know him and he deserves my business. But ultimately, I would just take a step back and just think like, hey, do you trust this person to represent you in your essentially the biggest purchase you're gonna make in your life as far as real estate, right? So that's a tidbit.
The cousin that just got his license doesn't know how to fill out a contract.
That's good information.
Guys, you have the power to choose, so choose wisely. Now let me ask you, what was one of your toughest deals and what did you learn from it? I'm sure you have one.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's got a few.
I'm sure you have a few, but at least one. Just share one with us.
I got a few.
The trauma.
He's like, I got the Rolodex.
He's reliving it.
I got some like horror stories too, to be honest. Yeah. I would say, okay, this actually fits in perfect with, I'm not gonna like name any names or anything like that, but it fits perfect in the aspect of it matters who you work with, right? So I had this client, she was relocating to Laredo, right? Purchasing her first home, and she's never been to Laredo in her life, right? So it was a big responsibility for me as a real estate agent at that time. Like I had to ensure that one, she's gonna like the place, right? Like living in Laredo. And I mean, like she was moving here, she was a remote worker, right? So what happened was she actually found a house on like realtor.com, loved the backyard, loved the house. Like it was like literally almost like it was built for her. So she called me, and she was a remote worker. And she's like, I just want to move. I just want to move to Texas. I want to move. I've never been to Laredo. I want to move down there. And
that's crazy.
It was cool. It was super cool. But it was also a big responsibility for me because I'm like, oh man, like she's entrusting me, and she asked a million questions.
You're helping her move her life.
Yeah. So, and ultimately we did end up making an offer on the house. She did get the offer accepted. And super, super happy. Like she was super grateful. The house, had a pool. It was everything she wanted, etc. Now, come time to the move, right? It's a big move, right? She was relocating from out of state. Everything had to be lined up pretty much perfectly for her as far as, her move, as far as the closing date. So we kind of had an arrangement with the seller and the listing agent that she was going to move in prior to closing, right? Which is, we basically did some sort of like lease agreement as far as she would be renting it until closing, just because the file wasn't ready to close yet, right? And she was going to be down here that date. What happened was the seller, wasn't ready to move out. The listing agent wasn't in communication with the seller, had no knowledge the seller hadn't even started moving out. My client actually ended up, being down here physically in Laredo for almost over a week before, she was actually able to move in, close, etc. Right? So
with nowhere to stay.
So we actually ended up helping her out. She got a hotel. She stayed down here as long as she could. But that was a big lesson learned as far as trust, and I guess as far as representing this buyer. Yes, as far as I had an agreement laid out, with the listing agent, with the seller, but it was one thing that I should have confirmed before, she got down here that, hey, the seller's moved out. I should have, at least walked the house. I should have, insured, It was more of so like I basically got everything in place, and I trusted that the other party would,
do their part.
Their part. Yeah. Exactly. So sometimes, again, that falls into place with, it does matter who you work with, regardless of what side it is. And then also, when you are representing somebody, especially in that big of a move, give 110% effort. Like it would have took me 20 minutes to drive down to the house, make sure, the seller's moved out, make sure the house is ready, etc. Instead of just, trusting, the other party to handle that side of things. So I would say that was probably the biggest, and that was, pretty early in my career, to be honest. So I guess from that standpoint, now I take it upon myself. It's more of like an accountability factor. Now I take it upon myself to make sure it's one thing to kind of get, all the ducks in a row, but also make sure physically that those ducks are in a row, if that makes sense.
You're like, not everybody is competent.
Exactly. Exactly.
So now you're learning that age-old phrase, which is give 110%.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only 100%, but you want to go the extra mile and make sure everybody's done everything necessary on their parts.
Exactly.
That's good.
I love that.
That's good.
Now, if you were to lose it all, right? If you lost it all and had to start fresh in a new city, what would you do?
All your knowledge.
No connections.
No connections. No nothing. If you lost everything, all your connections, all your ties in real estate, and you were to start over in a brand new city doing real estate, what would you do? Where would you start? Where would you focus at the most?
My first thing I would do is I would, once I moved in that city, find a brokerage that I trust, right? 2, start building my relationships as fast as possible, right? Now that's with, every, I guess, party in the transaction as far as real estate, builders, lenders. Try to get out and meet as much people as I can as far as, those events. And then 3, get on social media as fast as possible, right? As far as open houses, find builders to do open houses, find agents, maybe some seasoned agents that have, multiple listings. Ask them to do an open house on their property, Social media is probably the biggest one for me. If an agent has a particular listing, or that brokerage has, listing shares where you can share, other people's listings, get on Facebook, get on Instagram, get on TikTok, and just start sharing, especially social media is free, right? Essentially, unless you're running ads, which I highly recommend you do as far as social media. But that would be the biggest thing, is find people that you trust, start building relationships inside the industry in its whole, find a few friends in the industry, and basically use social media to your biggest strength, and start promoting as much property. I think volume is huge in real estate, as far as, again, consistency and volume, I think, is huge as far as how much houses you can push out, how much marketing material, how much you can market yourself. I think that's the biggest thing as far as being successful in real estate in general, because you're always working 2 to 3 months ahead. So, I mean, you take 2 to 3 months off, you're 2 to 3 months behind.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
That's good information.
How do you balance it? How do you balance like your personal life and your work life?
I'm still not there yet. Still haven't balanced it yet.
That's honest.
Yeah. It is tough in a sense because you have all the freedom in the world, right? You don't have to, I don't have to wake up and go to work. If I want to take 2 weeks off, and which I've probably done before, it is tough to stay consistent as far as, working every day, doing what needs to be done every day, posting every day, reaching out to clients every day. I would say a good balance is making sure you set aside time for yourself. I try to do that in the mornings. Like, I try to set aside time for myself. I'm big into working out, so I always like to get my workouts done in the morning if I'm working out that day. Just because I feel like once I start the work day, like, I can't work out. Like, I can't do anything personal. Like, once I start answering the phone, once I start texting, once I start, posting, things just catch up and everything gets pushed back. That's the same with like family. Like I'll catch myself at 6, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. like responding to clients, which is going to happen. You know, being in the industry, you're going to find yourself doing that all the time. But I would say, and again, it's a luxury as far as, you know, being able to step back and be like, hey, you know, I'm going to focus on some personal time, focus on family. It is a luxury being able to do that if you are, you know, if you've established yourself in a place you're able to do that. But I would say, you know, set aside some time for your personal, whether it's in the morning, whether it's in the evening. Make sure, you know, as far as you are staying consistent enough during the day, as far as, you know, posting, lead generating, communicating with clients, but get to a point where there's a cutoff time. Like, I'm not answering the phone after this time.
Yeah.
And
mine is midnight.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You know, it's funny that you say that because that's something, you know, that me and Rosie, you know, talk about a lot and deal with a lot.
Yeah.
Is, you know, trying not to let work always follow you home.
Yes.
You know, trying to have a certain cutoff time, trying to have boundaries. Because our industry is such a important one, it involves housing for people, and it's, you know, a lot of things are on the line for many people. You know, it's very easy to follow you home and the stress to follow you home, but we're always talking about how not allowing it to always follow you home and to forcefully schedule some time for yourself, for each other,
Yeah.
for family.
Exactly.
So I see exactly what you're saying there. We talk about it all the time. It's so important.
Yeah.
And I would have to agree with you that we're not there yet, you know.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we are in the service industry, so like I get, you know, and twisted in, if I don't reply right away, you know, something's bad gonna happen, or I gotta reply. Like, I think kind of to go back on the question, like I've been trying to like be present in what I'm doing, as far as like if I'm out to eat with the wifey, like don't answer the phone. Like you can wait till after you're done eating.
Easier said than done.
Way easier, way easier. But if you find yourself catching yourself thinking about thinking about it instead of like just nonchalantly, you know, responding and texting, blah blah. If you find yourself at least trying to, you know, prevent yourself from doing, eventually it's gonna catch. Something's gonna stick.
Yeah.
You're gonna get better at it. Maybe less frequently. You're still gonna do it, but you know, maybe less frequently. Kind of setting those boundaries as far as like being able to say, hey, no, I'm busy right now. I'll respond, you know, once I'm done with so-and-so. It is super hard though. Like,
Yeah.
I have like OCD, like I have to respond right away, or, you know, the world's gonna end, or this deal's gonna fall through, etc. I wish all, you know, people in the industry were like that, but you know, some
Sometimes
people.
they take days.
Yeah, some people. Hey, that just
That's
means
the truth.
that just means they're way better at it than us, I guess.
Maybe.
Okay.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. Okay, what's one advice that you would give to first-time home buyers right now?
Right now, understand the market that you're in. Understand that the market doesn't dictate whether it's a good time for you to buy or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I a lot of times I hear, well, is it a good time to buy? You know, how's the market, etc. I would say, you know, look at your own finances, look at your own goals, look at it from your own perspective instead of other people's perspective on the market, right? I would say that has a bigger thing to do with, are you ready to buy, rather than what the market's telling you.
1,000%.
So the better question is not what the market's like, but what's your situation like? Are you ready?
Exactly.
Because the market's always ready for somebody to jump into the market, but are
Yeah.
you ready to
Yes.
get prepared and jump into
100%.
this market?
Yeah.
That's
I agree.
great. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, me
I like
too.
that a lot.
All right, we're going to do a fun one right now, okay?
Okay.
It's going to be a rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Yes.
How
the
fast
honors?
do I have to answer the question?
Like this.
Rapid fire.
Rapid
As
fire.
fast as you can.
It's just a this or that.
All right, ready? Rapid fire. You ready, Brodie?
Yeah.
Buyers or sellers?
Buyers.
New construction or resale?
Resale.
Luxury or first-time home buyers?
First time home buyers.
Ooh, he's quick with it. Open house or private showings?
Private showings.
Text or phone call?
Text.
Let's go. Coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee. Depends on what time of day.
Biggest pet peeve in a transaction?
Appraisers.
Yeah.
Texans or Cowboys?
Neither.
I tried so hard. I tried
I was
so
gonna
hard.
say I was gonna say Texas because my sister-in-law is a Texas fan, but I'll say Texans.
Texans.
You hear that, Alexis?
There you go. You heard
Texans,
that.
I'll say Texans.
Dude, how funny. If you guys found this episode helpful, if you learned something from this episode, please like, share, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, follow our socials. We'll make sure to put Brodie's information on the captions below, and we see you guys on the next one.
God bless you guys.